to the light turned yellow, and I just floored it anyway. Like I said, I didn't have a license. And I went up zigging and zagging and jumping in through there like I was Tony Stewart or something. And then we drove way out in the middle of nowhere, probably crossing 16 state lines, multiple people's property, trespassing and everything else. But then we finally saw this big old stretch of nothingness. And we went way out there to get away from everybody because we just wanted to be alone with each other. And then I said, so we drove, well, we did it and made out and everything like that. And then we were listening to this crazy song and we got on out of there. We were driving up through the field when we saw all these stupid cows staring at us. And then we almost hit a deer because he wouldn't get the heck out of our way. And as we tried to miss him, I clipped him right in the, hind quarters and smashed his freaking hips. And he fell down and it screwed our car up and we had to limp on out to the freaking highway. Well, the highway was connected to another street, was connected to another street, was connected to another street. And we found the city bus. And I got on the bus then. Another one, bus. I finally got someone to tow my car home, and anyway, I got a mechanic to fix my car, and so I waited for that guy to finish his sermon, and then I said, you know what? Maybe I should listen to some rock and roll, so I changed the station, and
just let me hear some of that rock and roll music. Any old way you choose it. It's got a backbeat, you can't lose it. Any old time you use it. Gotta be rock and roll music.
And the guy on the radio said, hey man, do you know who sung this one song back in 1953? And I thought, man, I know this, I gotta know this, it's in my head somewhere, why can't I dig it out? And I got the idea in my head, maybe if I put a little more oxygen into my brain, that it would help out and give me the answer so I could win the radio contest. So I stuck my head out the window, and I thought really hard, and
The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
And right about then I got a big old eye full of sunshine, and so I put my head back inside the car, flipped the visor down, and put a hat over the front of my, like a baseball cap. And so the sunshine was out of my eyes, and my head was feeling all funny and frizzed back from all that air it just got. And the oxygen was screwing with my brain because there was a little bit too much in there. I was driving up the road, and all of a sudden I seen this chick strutting her stuff in the red dress and the big titties and the short bottoms. And I was like, hey, baby. And so we drove, and she's like, hey, baby, take me up to Makeout Mountain. I'm like, oh, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. So we went up to Makeout Mountain, and we just did it all day until it turned night again. And we looked up at the stars, and I was like,
And the earth will be our home, and the sky our starry dome, and the only superpower here that makes us strong, that kills the fear. Only power here is love.
and so we thought this was pretty grand, and we just stayed up there all night. And then we were driving home, but we were kind of a little fuzzy, still high from all that love. And we took a wrong turn somewhere, and we ended up out in the middle of nowhere. And who should we see but a buggy and a couple of horses and these two guys with big old mutton chops and a beard. There were two Amish dudes, and one said to the other one,
Been spending most our lives living in an Amish paradise.
well, it seems like the latest Democrat was over there trying to get people, and there's all these Amish people looking up at all these weird devices, like horseless carriages and a stick that made your mouth louder and stuff like that. So anyway, there was this Democrat over there talking, and when we drove by and realized it was a Democratic convention for Amish people, we were like, well, man, this sucks. And so the chick was like, yo, drive by and I'll yell at him. And so we did, and she yelled. So all of a sudden, while he was talking, I smelled this weird stuff coming out of the trees, man. And it looked like there was a big fire coming out of there, but there was no fire, just smoke. And all of a sudden, all these weird dudes come out with colorful clothing and tie-dye t-shirts and long Jesus hair. And one of them goes, hey, man, dude, this would be so groovy if we, freaked out the establishment by throwing, And so the hippies, all of a sudden, 100 of them ran out there protesting. They had signs and stuff. And it really freaked out the establishment, and it really freaked out the Democrats, and it really freaked out the Amish dudes standing there. And the Amish dudes were ready to kick their butts, but the guards stopped them. And they started protesting and waving their signs and screaming all this vulgar crap. And they set the building on fire that the Democrat dude was at. And then they got rounded up by the freaking police. And then when they asked them, did you start the fire? The hippie said. So they took all these hippies down the street and they threw them in jail. And when it was time for them to be fed, they gave them. So the cops were in there interviewing the hippies, interrogating them, actually. And they took them in there, and this one guy was so stoned because he'd been doing acid and peyote and shrooms for days, weeks, months, who knows. And the cop's like, you better tell me what you saw, dude. And he was all like, so the cop told him, we was too stoned, so they went and got another one. And this guy was being really sarcastic to the man. And that guy said, man, what's your problem, you stupid hippie? And he said, and the cop said to him, this guy was a little older, and he remembered when cowboys were cool, like back in the 50s and before that. And he said, you hippies are the stupidest thing that ever happened. And so the hippie's like, oh man, I hate it here, man. It's like a total drag. How can I possibly get out of here? And the cop said,
But it's gonna take money. A whole lot of spending money.
however, there was this one dude, he was dealing drugs since way back, and he was a hippie, man, and he said, don't worry about it, man, I got the money. He paid for everyone to get out, and all the hippies were walking out of the pig station, and the main dude from the pig pen, the sheriff of the town, he walked up and he said, hey, don't you screw with us again, dude, because we're... So the hippies were walking up the street and enjoying their freedom and everything like that. And all of a sudden, a whole bunch of water started coming down, and this big old submarine came up out of the water. It was colored yellow, man. And the hippie's like, whoa, man, where did that come from? Am I tripping? And he said, yo, dude, where did that come from? And the guy said,
We all live in a yellow submarine in an octopus's garden.
one of these guys in particular was really, really freaking stoned, and he just kept walking around, twitching, and had his eyes all hanging open and his mouth dropped, and walking around like a... Well, there was this guy up on top of the roof, and he just said, I can't take it anymore. And everybody sort of looked up at him, and he yelled out,
I'm so lonesome I could cry.
then he jumps, and he was... So anyway, right before he spluttered to his death, he landed in a big old pothole filled up with scum water. And they're so big in that town that they charge you rent for even getting in one of them. And somehow he survived. So anyway, I went about my business because I didn't actually see this for the last 5 minutes of the story, if you haven't noticed. But I did see that guy, which brings me back into the fold. He was walking out while I was walking in the psychologist's office. And I overheard him say that he had mixed emotions. And I went in there and told the doctor, so I was rapping with the doctor about this and that, and my childhood feelings and all these sort of things, whether or not I've been hallucinating. And she asked me, how do you feel about blah, 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 blah? And I said, I have mixed emotions. And she said, well, she asked me this and asked me that, and one of their standard questions is, do you drink too much? And I said, she asked me about my family, and I said,
some families are messed up while others are fine. I think yours is crazy. Well, you should see mine.
she said, you seem kind of depressed. And I got pills for you. I'm like, I told you I don't want any pills. She's like, these ones will make you happy. And I'm like, whoa. Well, I guess I could try them out. So I said, you got any right here? And she goes, yeah, write the script. You can get some later. But here's a couple just to get you started. So I bought a couple of them suckers. And I was going to call her back the next day. I was walking up the street thinking, man, these antidepressants are going to do crap. Man, I'm not going to feel any different. Because, you know, that song, the ones that they give you don't do anything at all. But after about 45 to 60 minutes, I started feeling really strange. And I knew that, my serotonin had kicked in, a good couple of times. And I started thinking, and you know, one thing I always had trouble doing was sitting down and paying attention while I'm supposed to be hunting things. It's hard just to sit there all day if you haven't really got anything, and you got to think of stuff to think about, and you got to look and look and look, and you can't move and you can't talk, and it just sucks sometimes, but the jerky is oh so good. So anyway, I was sitting up there, and I said, as long as I'm on these antidepressants, I'll be having a good time no matter what. And so I was sitting there, and I saw a deer and picked up my gun and so since I just did this all on a whim, you know, I didn't have all the right stuff to cut this deer up and cut it and skin it and everything. So I went down to the store and was going to buy some stuff at the local Cabela's, and the lady said, we're closing. And you? So anyway, I went back home, and, you know, I drove up there, and I pulled into the thing, and I really wasn't supposed to be driving at all anyway, and I started to notice that I felt like crap. And I was like, what the heck? I took a whole bunch of antidepressants earlier, but what goes up eventually will crash down, like a satellite being punched out of space. So anyway, I was sitting there, and I got tired, and I went to sleep, and dreamed.
You hate your boss at your job, but in your dreams you can blow his head off. In your dreams, show no mercy.
I woke up, I was depressed again, and
Bullfrogs on your mind. Have you ever woke up with bullfrogs on your mind?
Sugar, Miss Amanda Jones, called me up, man. And I just heard this crazy ringing. And I realized, oh, it's the telephone. I just, had a crazy time sleeping, man, and I'm having trouble waking up. So I went up to the thing, and she's like, hey, baby. And I said,
Hello, darling.
and she said, we talked for a while, and it was really cool. And we just kind of flirted and said sweet little things to each other, like a over-sugared bunch of muffin blueberry pie. Anyway, while that was going on, I got another call on the other line. She said, I'm going then. So this dude called me up. He's like, hi, this is your doctor, and you need to come down here fast. Don't forget about your appointment. And I was like, okay, dude. And so I went outside and grabbed in my car. Once again, that is illegal for me to drive, and I was driving extra fast because
I love NASCAR.
So I ended up in my doctor's office, and he was like, hey, man, we're going to do a full checkout on you. We're going to check out your brain and your heart and your kidneys and your lungs and all your veins and all your vital organs and the ones that aren't so vital and your bones and all that kind of crap. He said, hey, man, did you know that your brain, thinks stuff and then sends all these weird little things popping around your body to make your stuff do stuff? Like if you want to wiggle your finger, your brain just tells you and it sends this little thing down neuron impulse popping around your whole body. Get down there, and your finger wiggles, man. And that's how it works. And he said all day long, your heart's just in there pumping blood. And he goes, another real cool thing is your liver. Everything you put in there, your liver's like, whoa, man, that's bad. Let me take a little bit off of that, man, so it doesn't screw you up for life. And another thing, man, that really rocks is your pancreas. Your pancreas, man, it just sits there and makes insulin for you all day. If you didn't have that, you'd be totally messed up all the time. What do you think about that?
I really love my pancreas.
So, I was walking out of there and I sat down for a second next to the snack machine. And because he said my pancreas was alright, so I figured I could have some sweets now. While I was sitting there cramming my face full of stuff that was going to rot my teeth, somebody called me on the phone and said, hey man, we're going to play a bunch of cards tonight. And your place okay? And I was like, yeah man, bring some munchies. And so we all met back up at my place, and this dude walked up I'd never seen before, and he's like, hey man, can I play? And I'm like, well,
Are you experienced?
he said, why don't you give me a refresher course, man? I don't really remember. And so all of us together said,
You got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough to count. When the evening
so anyway, we did that and it was fun, and I got in my car to go pick up some more red licorice. And while I was driving up there, man, I heard all this racket, and I looked over there and I seen this gang member pulling a drive-by, and I yelled, so he whipped out a gun and started shooting everywhere, trying to kill me. Hey, what's up? And I had to get the crap out of there, so I started.
in the curve, flapping the hills. Someday the mountain might get a little longer. Making their way the only way they know how. That's just a little bit more than the whole of life.
Well, I got up to the store to get the red licorice, and while I was there, I grabbed a bunch of other stuff like ho-hos and freaking Twinkies and whatnot. Went up to the front, got a cherry Coke and a cherry Pepsi just to see which one was better, and then I left. Paid with food stamps. I was driving up the street and I was like, hey man, I'm on food stamps. This is a pretty good deal. It's a lot better than that junkie in the alley. And then I walked up and I was looking at the stars and everything was like really, really pretty. And all of a sudden I was like, whoa, crap, dude, I wasn't watching the road, man. Maybe I should have got a license. And I crashed into the back of a truck and this guy came out. He's like, beep, 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 cussing me out and everything like that. And I tried to get away, but I couldn't, man, because my car was smashed and I didn't want to get my butt kicked, so I ran away. Ran up in L.A., got up the alley, man. There were some cops down there beating up this dude, trying to get some money out of him. We protect you, man. He's like, oh, I got no more money. They're like, we know you got more money, dude. And they were putting the boots to him and everything. And they said, you better not be recording this. I'm like, I'm not recording this. I'm just trying to get out of here because this guy's going to beat me up. So one of the cops turned around and blasted him right in the face. And then he got his dog who could chew right through wire to chew up the door. And it got me right through that fence, man. And I went around and I was walking up the street, looked at the stars again, and I sat there for a long, long time just thinking about constellations and how they never look like what they're supposed to. And I looked up at the moon, man, and the moon was like swirling around and everything like that. And I couldn't tell if it was a full moon or a half moon or a crescent moon or a quarter moon or what it was. And then I finally ended up in bed somehow. And I got back there. Everybody had left. They were nice enough to leave me my chips, though. And I went to sleep. And, man, while I was, like, laying there thinking about life, this is what went through my head.